Listen closely, because in the next few minutes, you're going to learn something most traders never figure out. Not even after years of losing money, blowing accounts, or beating themselves up after every mistake. You're going to hear the emotional trigger that's been ruining your trades. You're going to understand why discipline feels impossible on some days and effortless on others. And you're going to walk into the mindset of a man who mastered the emotional battlefield long before psychology was even a word used on Wall Street. Now, let me ask you something. It's uncomfortable, but it's real. Comment below, when was the last trade you made because you just had to be right? Not because the setup was clean, not because your plan said so, but because your ego whispered, "Come on, prove yourself." That question matters, because if you're smart, you probably shouldn't be here. Yet you are. And that tells me something powerful. You're ready to fix the mental game that separates amateurs from operators. So stay with me. For the next 10 minutes, you and I are stepping into the psychological world of Jesse Livermore, a man whose discipline was sharpened in chaos, a man who made and lost fortunes, but never stopped mastering the one market that always mattered most, the market inside his own mind. Take a breath. Let the noise settle. Let your shoulders drop. Welcome to Chapter 1. Welcome to the mind of a market legend. Trading is emotional surgery. You think you're analyzing stocks, but what you're really analyzing is yourself. The fear that rises when a candle pulls back. The rush you feel when you're green. The tightening in your chest when you're stuck in a losing position, trying to convince yourself it will come back. Every trader has lived this. Even Jesse Livermore, who many call the greatest trader who ever lived. But here's the twist most people never understand. Livermore didn't build his mastery from technical skill alone. The real edge came from emotional control, clarity, and the willingness to study his own behavior under pressure. And that's exactly why you're here. Because quietly, deep down, you know the real enemy isn't the market. It's the mind that reacts to it. Let's ground this chapter with something simple but brutally honest. Jesse Livermore used to say, "The game taught me the game." He didn't say charts taught him. He didn't say news taught him. He didn't say a course or a guru or a magic indicator taught him. The game taught him the game. Meaning, he learned by observing himself inside the market. He learned by watching how his emotions reacted to price action. He learned by studying not just what stocks were doing, but what he was doing every time stocks moved. So as you listen to this audiobook, I want you to understand something crystal clear. This isn't just a story about a man who mastered Wall Street. It's a mirror for you to master your own behavior. Let me paint you a cinematic picture. Imagine you're standing in an old bucket shop with Jesse Livermore. The floors creak. The room smells like chalk and sweat. Men lean over tall wooden counters, shouting orders. Prices fly across blackboards faster than anyone can explain. This is where discipline was born. Not in a classroom, not on a trading floor with air conditioning and ergonomic chairs, but in chaos, where Jesse learned that the market punishes emotional decisions, always. That same lesson is true today. Whether you're trading on a laptop in your bedroom or in a corporate office with 3 screens and a ring light. The market doesn't reward talent. It rewards emotional stillness. And if that's something you don't have yet, don't worry. You're in the right place. You're listening to the right audiobook. And you're taking the exact step most traders are too stubborn or too scared to take. So let's talk about what you're going to feel throughout this audiobook. You're going to feel clarity, because once you understand your emotional triggers, you stop falling for them. You're going to feel calm, because you'll discover that trading is not a sprint to profits. It's a test of discipline under heat. You're going to feel empowered, because you'll realize that the greatest traders didn't win by being perfect. They won by being honest with themselves. Livermore wasn't a superhuman. He wasn't gifted from birth. He wasn't magically calm. He was a student of his emotions, the same way you're becoming one right now. Think about your last bad trade. Not the chart, not the setup, not the stop loss. Think about the emotion behind it. Was it fear? Was it greed? Was it FOMO? Was it hope? Anger? Really think about it. Call it out. Name it. Because the moment you can identify it, you can control it. That is the beginning of your transformation. And that is exactly how Jesse Livermore began his journey, by noticing the emotional storms that lived inside him. And that leads us into the next chapter, where we step into Jesse's early world, his harsh beginnings, and the discipline forged in the noise, chaos, and pressure of the bucket shops. Take a breath. Settle in. You're just getting started.
Listen carefully, because the next few minutes are going to change the way you look at your own trading habits. Right now, you're about to understand how discipline is actually built, not through fancy indicators, not through a perfect strategy, but through pressure, mistakes, curiosity, and emotional control forged in the real world. This chapter is about Jesse Livermore's humble beginnings, and how the lessons he learned under those rough conditions can transform your trading psychology today. And let me hit you with a promise right from the start. In the next 10 minutes, you'll learn the mindset shift that stops impulsive trading dead in its tracks. But before we go deeper, I want to ask you something personal, something that might sting a little. Comment below. When was the last trade you made because you had to be right? Not because the chart made sense, not because the plan said so, but because your pride stepped in and whispered, "Come on, prove it." If that hit you, good. You're exactly where you need to be. Because if you're smart, you probably shouldn't be here, yet here you are. Let's fix that. Now, picture this. You're not sitting at a modern setup with glowing monitors and soft background jazz. You're in the late 1800s, standing inside a bucket shop. Noisy, chaotic, sweaty. Men shouting, chalk dust floating through the air, numbers being scribbled faster than the eye can track. This is where Jesse Livermore learned to trade. No charts, no indicators, just raw market data slapping across blackboards second by second. And Jesse? He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't special. He wasn't taught by a mentor. He was just a skinny kid with quick eyes and a brain that noticed patterns nobody else cared to see. Here's what made him different. He paid attention. He watched. He studied. He tracked tiny price movements that most adults ignored. He was curious enough to see what others dismissed. That curiosity, that hunger to truly see, was the first seed of his discipline. One of Livermore's greatest early insights had nothing to do with making money. It had everything to do with emotional stillness. He learned to question his instincts. He learned to slow down when everyone else rushed. He learned to observe his own impulses, those little sparks of excitement, fear, or frustration. Think about how rare that is. Most traders today don't even know what they feel until after they blow an account. But Jesse, he trained himself to notice emotions as they formed. That's why those early bucket shop days were priceless. They forced him to learn under pressure. They taught him how quickly emotions could hijack decisions, how greed could swell out of nowhere, how fear could make a man sell at the worst possible moment. And if you're honest, you already know that same battle lives inside you. Let me give you a mental picture. Jesse would walk into a bucket shop before sunrise, sit quietly, and watch the tape roll numbers across the board. He wasn't there to gamble. He wasn't there to try his luck. He was there to observe, to study, to trade price action like a language. While grown men swung between euphoria and panic, Jesse stayed still, counting patterns, testing theories, connecting dots. He wasn't chasing the market. He wasn't reacting to every twitch. He was learning to wait. And in that waiting, he discovered something legendary. Patterns repeat themselves because human emotions repeat themselves. That one realization built the foundation of Livermore's entire trading career. But here's the part that matters to you. Jesse didn't need a perfect environment to build discipline. He built it in chaos, in noise, in uncertainty, in places where most people were losing control, not gaining it. So if you're thinking, I can't focus because of my surroundings, or I'll be disciplined once I have a better setup, or I'll stop being emotional when my account gets bigger, just know, Livermore built emotional mastery before he had money, comfort, or success. He became disciplined first. The results came later. And now let's get real for a second. Ask yourself honestly, when you get into a trade, are you analyzing or are you reacting? Most traders think they're analyzing, but what they're really doing is reacting to emotions, reacting to fear, reacting to boredom. That's what Jesse saw in every bucket shop. People weren't trading stocks. They were trading adrenaline. They were trading boredom. They were trading ego. You can probably relate. Everyone can. Now I want to ask you something powerful, something that might unlock a breakthrough in your psychology. What's the emotion that shows up in your trading the fastest? Fear? Greed? FOMO? Desperation? That tiny spark of don't miss out? Drop it in the comments, because calling out that emotion is the first step in controlling it. So, let's go deeper into this world. Imagine Jesse at 16 years old, earning money, trading bucket shop quotes, then grown men working full-time factory jobs. Why could he do that? Because he saw patterns. He trusted his eyes. He trusted his notes. He trained himself to prioritize logic over impulse. His gift wasn't genius. It was self-control. Most traders today look for the perfect setup. Livermore looked for the perfect moment. The moment when price action confirmed what he'd already observed over thousands of hours. The moment when logic lined up with patience. This is where discipline is truly built. In the quiet moments, between the impulses, between the noise, when you choose awareness over excitement. Remember this. Livermore didn't become a legend because he won trades. He became a legend because he understood himself. And that started in those humble rooms with chalkboards and chaos. He learned that every trader is fighting two markets at once, the outer market and the inner market. One is unpredictable, the other is trainable. And he chose to master the one he could control. As we close Chapter 2, I want you to sit with this thought. You don't need perfect conditions to grow as a trader. You just need curiosity, awareness, and the courage to study your own behavior. Jesse built his career from the ground up through observation, restraint, and emotional honesty. Those same tools are already inside you. And now you're ready for the next step in his transformation. Because the greatest lesson Jesse ever learned was the one that made him rich. Money is made by waiting, by sitting, by letting the market come to you instead of chasing it. That is the psychology of patience, and that's where we're going next. Take a breath. Let the noise fade. You're ready for Chapter 3, The Psychology of Waiting, Livermore's Mastery of Patience. Listen closely, because what you're about to learn in the next 10 minutes may be the thing that saves your trading career. No exaggeration. This chapter holds the mindset that separates emotional gamblers from disciplined operators. This is where Jesse Livermore built the belief that made him a legend. Money is made by sitting, not trading. Today, you'll learn why waiting, not reacting, is the real edge. You'll learn the emotional trigger that keeps you jumping into bad trades. And you'll learn how Jesse turned patience into profit year after year. Before we dive deep, let me ask you a question that might sting a little. Comment below. When was the last trade you made because you had to be right? Not because your system said take it. Not because the chart confirmed the setup. But because your pride said, don't miss out, prove you're smart. If that hit you, good. Because if you're smart, you probably shouldn't be here. Yet here you are. Let's fix that. Now, imagine this scene. It's early morning. Jesse Livermore sits alone in his trading room. No noise, no crowd, just stillness, and a mind trained to wait for the moment that matters. He learned early that the market rewards patience far more than speed. He understood something most traders never grasp. Big moves take time to form. But here's the painful truth for most people. Waiting feels like doing nothing, and doing nothing feels weak. So we force trades. We chase setups. We jump in early trying to catch the move. We let boredom push us into positions that weren't part of the plan. Sound familiar? Jesse used to say something brilliant, something that hits even harder today. It was never my thinking that made me the big money. It was always my sitting. His edge wasn't predicting. His edge was waiting. His edge was emotional restraint, the kind that keeps your hands off the mouse until the market is screaming your name. That's the psychology of patience. That's where real discipline lives. Let me ask you something direct. What's harder for you, pulling the trigger or not pulling the trigger? For most traders, the hardest skill is inaction. Being flat feels uncomfortable. Watching a stock move without you feels like punishment. Watching a candle take off without you feels like betrayal. But here's the truth Livermore learned. If you can't sit still, you'll never sit rich. There's a reason long-term traders like Warren Buffett, Paul Tudor Jones, and Stanley Druckenmiller made fortunes by waiting for asymmetric moments, not frequent ones. They all shared a simple belief: the market pays the patient, it punishes the restless. Picture Jesse during one of his biggest trades, the legendary 1907 panic move. He waited for weeks, watching every tick, watching the whole market unravel. Not jumping in early, not guessing, not panicking. He waited until the psychological pressure broke the crowd, and only then did he load the position that made him millions. That level of patience, that level of emotional stillness, that's the part of Livermore most people never study. But let's bring it back to you. When you think about your last impulsive trade, what emotion drove it? Fear of missing out? Boredom? Revenge? Ego? Desperation to make the day green? I want you to think about that emotion. Sit with it. Call it out. Because patience isn't just waiting. Patience is emotional clarity. It's the ability to feel something uncomfortable, fear, greed, FOMO, and not act on it. Patience is resisting the urge to do something just to feel like you're trading. Patience is trusting your edge long enough for it to reveal itself. Patience is maturity. Patience is power. Livermore understood that the market has its own rhythm, not yours, not your schedule, not your need to be in a trade every day. Patterns took time. Breakouts needed confirmation. Trends needed structure. He would wait and wait and wait until the market proved it was ready. And when it finally did, he moved with precision. Not randomly, not emotionally, not out of boredom. He waited until everything lined up. Price, volume, market mood, intuition sharpened from years of observations. That's what patience looks like when it's mastered. And here's something modern traders rarely think about. Your best trades don't require constant action. Your best trades require timing, calm, and space for the move to build. You're not being paid to push buttons. You're being paid to make good decisions. You're being paid to manage your emotions. You're being paid to wait for setups with edge, not setups with hope. If you want to grow your account, you must first grow your patience. Period. Let me hit you with a question that might unlock everything. When was the last time you missed a perfect setup because you took 5 bad trades waiting for it? Think about that. Really think about it. Most traders destroy their best opportunities by draining their emotional capital before the real move even appears. Patience protects your energy. Patience protects your clarity. Patience protects the quality of your decisions. Livermore mastered this. You can too. As we bring this chapter toward its close, here's the truth Livermore learned after decades in the market. Waiting is not inaction. Waiting is strategy. It's emotional discipline. It's psychological strength. It's what separates the crowd from the operator. And that's your takeaway today. Your mind is the real weapon, not your speed. You don't need to trade more. You need to wait better. In the next chapter, we're diving into the 2 enemies that sabotage patience more than anything else: fear and greed. Jesse's biggest wins and most painful losses came from wrestling with those emotions, just like you do every day. We'll step into his battles during major bull markets, vicious bear runs, and the psychological wars he fought behind the scenes. Take a breath, relax your shoulders. You're ready for the next step. Chapter 4: Fear and Greed. Jesse's War Against Inner Noise. Listen closely, because the next few minutes might save you years of emotional pain in the markets. In this chapter, you're going to learn something deadly serious: why fear and greed quietly run your trades, and how Jesse Livermore learned to silence both during the most violent bull and bear runs in market history. If you've ever stared at your screen with your heart pounding, palms sweating, and said to yourself, "Why am I doing this again? I swore I'd stop trading like this," then you're exactly where you need to be. Comment below. When was the last trade you made because you just had to be right? And if you're smart, you shouldn't be here. Yet you are. So let's fix this. In the next 10 minutes, you'll understand the emotional trigger that keeps sabotaging your decisions. And you'll learn how Jesse Livermore trained himself to master the two monsters that haunt every trader: fear and greed. The market isn't your enemy. Your reactions are. Most traders think the market is chaotic. They think it's hostile. They think it's unpredictable. But Jesse Livermore said something far more terrifying. The market is never wrong. Only opinions are. Fear and greed distort those opinions until you can't tell truth from noise. It took Jesse years to figure out that his real fight wasn't with other traders. Not with the tape, not with the charts. His real opponent was the voice in his own head. Fear, the silent killer of good trades. Let's rewind to 1907. The Panic of '07 wasn't a story. It was blood in the streets, banks collapsing, newspapers screaming, people lining up to withdraw every dollar they owned. Everyone was terrified. Everyone except a young Jesse Livermore. Why? Because the fear in the air confirmed what the tape had been whispering for months: weakness, pressure, cracks forming under the surface. Jesse didn't panic. He didn't fold. He didn't run. He waited. He observed. He let everyone else drown in their own anxiety. And when the breakdown finally came, he was positioned. Not because he was fearless, but because he learned how to control the reaction. Fear destroys traders because it rushes their mind into survival mode. You cut winners too early. You hesitate on good entries. You size small when you should size normal. You convince yourself the market is out to get you. But the market isn't chasing you. Your own fear is. Let me ask you something. What would your trading look like if fear didn't jerk the steering wheel out of your hands every time the price wiggled? Think about it. Greed, the trap disguised as opportunity. Now let's fast forward to 1929. The Roaring '20s were turning regular people into millionaires overnight. It felt like stocks could only go up. Sound familiar? Greed was everywhere, and Jesse felt it too, because every trader feels it. But here's where Livermore separated himself from the crowd. He didn't trust the feeling. He trusted the tape. He trusted his rules. He trusted the data. While the world was drunk on optimism, Jesse noticed something nobody wanted to admit. Leaders were making lower highs. Volume was thinning out. Insiders were selling quietly. Momentum wasn't momentum. It was exhaustion disguised as strength. Greed tells you, just one more push. Just one more trade. You're on a roll. You can't lose. Jesse didn't let that voice negotiate with him. He stepped aside, built his short positions, and when the crash came, he made more money than almost anyone alive that year. Not because he was greedy, but because he refused to let greed blind him. Fear screams. Greed whispers. Wisdom listens. Jesse discovered something profound. Fear is loud. Greed is subtle. But clarity? Clarity feels quiet. He used to write down every emotional spike he felt. That moment his heart rate jumped. That moment he felt the urge to enter early. That moment he felt invincible after 3 wins. That moment he wanted to double size just because he felt good. He learned to notice the emotion without obeying it. That's the skill most traders never develop. They react instead of reflect. They chase instead of observe. They want action instead of results. But action without clarity is just noise, and noise destroys accounts. the physiology of fear and greed. Here's where I give you something practical. Both fear and greed trigger the same biological system in your body, your fight or flight response. Your breathing shortens, your vision narrows, your thoughts speed up, your decision quality crashes. You're literally not thinking like the same person anymore. This is why traders blow accounts in one afternoon and say, "I wasn't myself," because biologically, they weren't. But here's what Jesse Livermore mastered. He trained his body to stay calm so his mind could stay intelligent. He'd sit completely still. He'd watch the tape without reacting. He'd remind himself, the market isn't attacking me. My emotions are. He separated the signal from the story, the data from the drama. That's what made him unstoppable. The trader's internal war. Every trader has two versions of themselves. The calm version who plans the trade and the emotional version who trades the plan. The goal isn't to eliminate fear or greed. You can't. You're human. The goal is to observe them, to understand them, to stop letting them make decisions for you. Because when fear takes over, you see danger that isn't there. When greed takes over, you see opportunity that doesn't exist. But when clarity takes over, you see truth. And truth is where wealth lives. A question for you. Genuinely, think about this. Would you be a better trader today if you removed only 20% of your fear or only 20% of your greed? Type your answer in the comments. That single reflection might change your entire approach. Jesse's rule for emotional control. Livermore had a rule most traders today ignore. If your emotions are loud, your position is too big. Not in size, in personal meaning. If one trade feels like life or death, you're already dead. If one trade feels like validation or humiliation, your emotions are trading for you. When Jesse felt his emotions getting heated, he actually stepped away from the tape. Not because he was weak, but because he respected how dangerous unchecked emotion really is. The pros don't control emotion with willpower. They control it with structure. That's the difference between a gambler and a trader. And here's the truth most traders hate. You don't blow accounts because you lack strategy. You blow accounts because you lack emotional brakes. You know how to enter. You know how to exit. You know position sizing. But you don't know how to stay calm when it matters. That's the skill Jesse Livermore built, and that's the skill you're building right here, right now. And where we go next. Because once Jesse learned to conquer fear and greed, he unlocked a superpower most traders only dream about. The ability to read the tape with total mental presence. No bias, no panic, no greed. Just raw truth. In the next chapter, we'll break down exactly how he trained his mind to observe the market with almost supernatural clarity, how he saw patterns before others saw chaos, and how he learned to read behavior instead of predictions. Get ready. You're about to learn one of the rarest skills in trading, reading the tape the way Jesse did.
Listen closely, because in the next few minutes, you're going to learn a skill most traders never master. How to read the market the way Jesse Livermore did, without prediction, without bias, and without emotion. You're about to understand why Livermore didn't forecast, he observed. And if you learn the difference, you'll trade like someone who actually sees truth in the chaos. Before we dive in, answer this honestly. Comment below. When was the last trade you made because you just had to be right? If you're smart, you shouldn't be here. Yet you are.
So let's fix that. Because in the next 10 minutes, you'll learn the hidden emotional trigger that stops you from seeing the market clearly, and how Jesse trained his mind to filter through noise and spot patterns that no one else could see. Let's begin. Tape reading isn't magic, it's presence. Most traders think tape reading is some mystical skill. They imagine a genius staring at price flickers like Neo looking at the Matrix. But Livermore said it bluntly: the tape tells the truth if you're calm enough to listen. Tape reading is presence, awareness, seeing what's actually happening, not what you want to happen. If your mind is cluttered with fear, greed, predictions, or dopamine from a recent win, the tape becomes blurry. You'll project fantasies onto the screen. But when your mind is still, the tape becomes a mirror. It shows you exactly how traders are behaving in real time. Jesse's first real lesson in truth. Back in the bucket shops, Jesse learned something that shocked him. Price didn't move because of his opinion. Price moved because of pressure. Buying pressure, selling pressure, hesitation, exhaustion, panic. He began to notice when prices stalled unnaturally, when volume dried up right before a reversal, when strong stocks refused to drop even on bad news, when weak stocks couldn't rally even with good headlines. These weren't signals, they were behaviors. And Jesse realized if he studied behavior long enough, predictions were unnecessary. He could follow the truth the tape was whispering. Most traders don't read the tape, they read their ego. Here's the part that stings. Most traders don't see the market. They see their hopes, their fear, their desperation to prove they're smart. They're not observing, they're projecting. If you're staring at a chart waiting for something to confirm your bias, congratulations, you're already blind. Livermore knew this, so he made a personal rule. Never force the tape to say what you want. It will lie if you beg it to. He trained himself to detach from his own beliefs. He let price lead. He followed the flow instead of fighting it. That's how he built fortunes. Not from strategy, but from clarity. The market's body language. Livermore treated the market like a living creature, not predictable, but expressive. He watched how fast prices moved, how they reacted to big orders, whether rallies felt strong or weak, whether declines felt heavy or flimsy, how quickly losses were recovered, how long gains were defended. Just like reading someone's body language in a conversation, Jesse read the market's emotional posture. He could feel when the market was confident. He could feel when it was scared. He could feel when the market was tired. That's tape reading. Not numbers, not lines, not indicators. Behavior. The skill of not predicting. Here's the part that separates amateurs from professionals. Most traders crave certainty. They want to know. But Livermore didn't try to know. He tried to understand. There's a difference. Predictions inflate the ego. Understanding strengthens judgment. When you predict, you get attached. When you observe, you get aligned. Livermore's philosophy was simple. If the tape disagrees with me, the tape is right. That mindset saved him more than any system ever could. How Jesse trained pattern recognition. Jesse's pattern recognition wasn't instinct. It wasn't a gift. It wasn't magic. It was exposure. Thousands of hours, watching every tick, noticing when breakouts were faking, when breakdowns lacked conviction, when a stock was being quietly accumulated, when distribution began before a crash, when volume hinted at a move before price confirmed it. After a while, these patterns began to speak to him. He wasn't guessing, he was recognizing.
Just like a firefighter can smell danger before a rookie sees it, Livermore could sense a move before the crowd realized what was happening. Not because he was psychic, but because he trained his mind to see what most people ignore. The secret? Emotional stillness. Tape reading requires one trait more than any other: a quiet mind. If you're stressed, angry, hyped, or impulsive, you can't read anything. Think about it. A musician can't hear details if a drum is pounding next to his ear. A pilot can't navigate if alarms are screaming. A trader can't read the tape if his emotions are yelling. But Jesse practiced emotional stillness. He sat with the tape like a student. He let it breathe. He let it talk. He didn't rush to conclusions. He didn't chase every wiggle. He listened. And that's the superpower: listening. Because the tape is always telling the truth. The question is whether you're calm enough to hear it. A question for you. Reflect on this one. What would change in your trading if you could observe without needing an outcome? Comment below with one word: detach, if you know that's your next step. Behavior over prediction, the real-world example. Look at Paul Tudor Jones. His greatest skill wasn't forecasting economic events. It was reading how the market was behaving around those events. Look at Stan Druckenmiller. He didn't trade what he thought should happen. He traded what he saw was actually happening. These legends weren't prophets. They were observers, just like Jesse. And if you build that same observational calm, you will stop forcing your will onto the market and start flowing with it. That's when trading becomes art. Tape reading is a conversation. Jesse often said, the tape doesn't argue, it instructs. He treated every move like a message. Is the market strong? Is it weak? Is it confused? Is it confident? He didn't try to shout over the message. He didn't try to rewrite it. He listened. And here's the truth most traders miss. Successful trading is not about predicting the future. It's about understanding the present. If you can do that, you're already ahead of 90% of traders. Where we go next? Because even with this extraordinary ability to read truth from price behavior, Jesse wasn't invincible. In fact, some of his greatest lessons came from moments when everything collapsed, when he lost everything, when the world came crashing down on him. But those collapses weren't failures. They were breakthroughs, emotional resets, moments that forced him to grow. In the next chapter, we'll study those collapses not as tragedies, but as psychological evolutions. You're about to learn why pain didn't break Jesse Livermore. It rebuilt him. Get ready. Chapter 6 begins the moment everything falls apart and everything begins again.
Listen carefully, because the next few minutes might become the chapter that rewires how you see failure forever. You're about to learn why Jesse Livermore's biggest collapses weren't the end of him, they were the making of him. This chapter is about humility. It's about emotional resets. It's about the psychological rebirth that only happens after everything you built comes crashing down. And if it feels like you've blown up accounts, missed opportunities, sabotaged setups, or repeated the same mistakes, you're not broken. You're in the exact place where transformation starts. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something real. Comment below, when was the last trade you made because you had to be right, even though the market was clearly telling you no? If you're smart, you shouldn't be here, yet you are. So let's fix that. Because in the next 10 minutes, you'll learn the emotional trigger that ruins traders during drawdowns and the mindset Jesse used to rebuild himself every time his world collapsed. Let's begin.
The first collapse, the red pill moment. The first time Jesse blew up, he wasn't devastated, he was stunned. He realized the market didn't care about his brilliance. It didn't care about his confidence. It didn't care that he'd been right 10 times in a row. It only cared about one thing. Are you disciplined right now? Jesse said that his first crash felt like being hit with cold water, not because of the money, but because he realized something painful. Being right is a feeling. Staying disciplined is a skill. And that moment, when pride breaks, that's where real traders are born. Pain isn't the enemy, denial is. Most traders do everything they can to avoid emotional pain. They overtrade, they revenge trade, they average down, they jump into random setups to get the loss off their mind. They drown uncertainty with action. But Livermore did the opposite. After every collapse, he sat in the ashes. He breathed. He looked at the damage directly. He didn't hide from the truth. He let the pain sting, because the sting was the teacher. The trade you regret the most is usually the one that reveals who you really are under pressure. Ask yourself this: what was your most painful loss, and what did it show you about your impulses? Drop it below. Your comment might help someone else reading it. The second collapse: ego versus market. Jesse's second great crash came after a massive run-up. He was hot. He was winning. He felt untouchable. And that's the dangerous part. When ego enters the chat, discipline leaves the room. Jesse admitted that his biggest losses didn't come from bad markets. They came from good markets he got cocky in. He thought he could bend the tape. He thought he could push his luck. He thought rules were for other traders, not him. Sound familiar? Every trader hits a point where success becomes a trap, because success whispers, just this one time you can break the rules. But when the market finally slapped him back to reality, he realized something powerful. You don't rise to your winning streak, you fall to your level of discipline. The third collapse, the psychological reset. One of Jesse's most famous collapses left him with nothing. No capital, no trades, no confidence. But it also gave him the cleanest reset of his entire career. Because when you lose everything, something strange happens. Your judgment gets sharper. Your priorities get clearer. Your ego gets quieter. Your mind becomes ruthless, focused, disciplined. Jesse turned rock bottom into a foundation. He rebuilt, slower, calmer, smarter. He removed the emotional noise. He dropped the need to impress. He stopped fighting the market and started collaborating with it. That's the gift of collapse. It strips away everything fake. The lesson most traders never learn. Here's the truth they don't tell you in trading books. Your worst crashes teach you the skills your best wins require. You don't learn risk management in a winning streak. You don't learn patience when everything is going your way. You don't learn humility when you're printing money. You learn these things when you're bleeding. Every great trader, Druck, Tudor Jones, Minervini, O'Neill, they all grew during their darkest drawdowns, not during the glory days. Pain is where discipline hardens. Humility is where strategy matures. Reflection is where skill becomes instinct. Collapse is not destruction, it's the audit. The market shows you exactly which parts of your mindset are fake, weak, or untested. Jesse's rules for rebuilding. Whenever Jesse collapsed, he followed a quiet ritual. 1. Stop trading completely. Not reduce, stop. Let the emotional storms settle. 2. Study the tape with no money at risk. Return to neutral observation. 3. Identify the one behavior that caused the crash. Not 10 mistakes, one. There's always one root: impatience, ego, denial, boredom, fear, revenge. 4. Rebuild slowly. He didn't sprint back into the market. He eased back in, controlled, methodical. 5. Trust experience, not hope. He never tried to win it back. He tried to trade properly again. That's why he could rise from the dead again and again, not because of talent, but because he knew how to rebuild the mind. Your breakthrough might look like a breakdown. If you've ever blown up an account, if you've ever frozen during a crash, if you've ever watched your confidence evaporate in seconds, you're not weak, you're not behind, you're not done. You're in the exact place Jesse stood, at the doorway of the mindset upgrade that changes everything. So ask yourself, what if your biggest loss was actually your turning point? Drop a ready in the comments if you're prepared to rebuild with intention. The rebirth of confidence. Jesse's confidence didn't come from winning. It came from knowing he could lose everything and still return stronger. That kind of confidence is unshakable. It doesn't depend on charts, conditions, or luck. It comes from resilience. That's the mindset that separates casual traders from true operators. Confidence without ego. Conviction without delusion. Strength without stubbornness. It's the quiet fire that only forms in the aftermath of collapse. Where we go next? Because once Jesse rebuilt his discipline, once he rose from the wreckage with clarity, that's when he developed one of his most legendary skills: controlled aggression, acting boldly, but only when the market invited it, stepping in hard when momentum aligned, executing with courage, but never with ego. In the next chapter, we explore the art of aggressive precision, how Livermore mastered momentum and breakouts, and how you can learn to strike without fear and without losing control. Get ready for Chapter 7, Momentum, Breakouts, and Boldness, the moment when discipline meets fire.
Listen closely, because in the next 10 minutes, you're going to learn the one mindset shift that turns hesitation into confidence and fear into controlled aggression. The exact shift Jesse Livermore used to ride momentum like a master. You'll learn why boldness isn't wild, it's disciplined, why breakouts reward courage but punish ego, and why the traders who win big aren't the ones who move first, they're the ones who move right. Before we begin, let me ask you something personal. Comment below, when was the last trade you made because you had to be right? All right, let's get to work. Section 1, Where Courage Meets Calculation. Jesse Livermore wasn't fearless. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't gut-driven. He was calculated courage, the quiet killer instinct that only fires when the market gives permission. When Jesse spotted momentum forming, he didn't jump like an excited beginner. He waited. He watched the tape tighten. He let the market reveal its hand. Only after confirmation, only after strength, only after real pressure did he press the button with absolute conviction. That's the key most traders miss. They're bold at the wrong time and cautious at the right time. They step hard into chop and step soft when the trend finally opens up. Jesse flipped that mental pattern upside down. He built a mindset where boldness was earned, not imagined. Let me ask you this. How many times have you hesitated on the exact trade that ended up running 5x more than you thought? You know the one. You stared at it, you knew it, you felt it, and then you froze. Momentum rewards the trader who is mentally prepared before the breakout, not during it. Section 2. A breakout is not just a price move, It's a psychological window. Most traders treat breakouts like lotto tickets. Jesse treated them like behavioral events. A breakout is the moment when the crowd's doubt turns into collective belief. It's when pessimists surrender. It's when the trend becomes undeniable. It's when the market finally says, "Okay, kid, here's your chance." And here's the part most traders never hear. Breakouts are emotionally ugly right before they work. There's noise, there's volatility, there's fake weakness, there's almost signals. And then, in a split second, pressure collapses, volume spikes, and the move begins. This is where controlled aggression separates the amateurs from the professionals. The amateur waits to feel safe. The professional acts the moment the risk to reward snaps into alignment. Not earlier, not later. Jesse once said he made the big money sitting, not thinking. But people forget the second part. He acted like lightning when the sitting was over. That's controlled aggression. That's professional boldness. Section 3. When momentum tries to shake you out. Let's be real for a minute. Momentum doesn't move in a straight line just to make you feel comfortable. It moves in waves, surges, whipbacks, scary pull-ins that punch you in the chest. And if you don't manage your mind, the market will bully you into exiting the exact trade you should hold. Jesse learned to stay calm during these violent swings by repeating one internal rule. The trend is true until the market proves otherwise. He didn't let sudden drops break his conviction. He didn't let random dips humiliate his confidence. He didn't let fear rewrite the story while the trend was still intact. Great traders don't just understand price action, they understand emotional action. Your pulse spikes, your breathing shortens, your fight or flight kicks in, even though you're literally sitting at a desk. Here's a truth every trader eventually learns. If you can't stay calm in expansion, you don't deserve the reward of expansion. Section 4. The psychology of pulling the trigger. Every breakout has one final barrier, and it's not resistance, it's hesitation. Traders freeze because they're afraid of being wrong, or afraid of missing out, or afraid of getting fooled again. Jesse solved that problem with one mindset. My job is not to be right. My job is to act correctly. Read that again. Your job is not correctness. Your job is correctness of action. That's the psychology of a professional. George Soros did the same thing. He didn't care about being right. He cared about reacting correctly. Paul Tudor Jones once said he became a winner when he stopped trying to call bottoms and tops. Real pros act when the market aligns. Not sooner, not later. Let me ask you, what would change in your trading if you stopped needing certainty and just needed alignment? Think on that. Section 5. Sized boldness. Going big without losing your mind. Controlled aggression isn't just entry timing. It's position sizing. It's pacing. It's pressure management. Jesse's boldest trades weren't blind leaps. They were escalated commitments. He added only when the market rewarded his accuracy. He pressed advantage only when the trend confirmed. He expanded risk only when risk was already shrinking. That's how great traders survive long enough to thrive. You don't go all in. You scale in with intelligence. You build size like a builder adds floors only after the foundation holds. Section 6. Your momentum mindset shift. If you walk away from this chapter remembering only one thing, let it be this. Boldness without discipline is just gambling. Discipline without boldness is just waiting. Mastery is the balance. Momentum rewards the trader who waits with patience, acts with conviction, holds with calm, and withdraws with logic. That's how Jesse Livermore did it. That's how every elite trader, past and present, does it. It's also how you will do it if you choose to train your mind for it. Now tell me in the comments, do you lean more towards hesitation or reckless aggression? And which one are you fixing starting today? Because here's the twist almost no trader sees coming. Momentum doesn't destroy traders. Breakouts don't destroy traders. Volatility doesn't destroy traders. Breaking your own rules destroys traders. Which brings us to the next chapter, the skill Jesse struggled with more than anything else. Chapter 8, the hardest skill, sticking to your own rules, where you'll learn why discipline is expensive, inconsistency is deadly, and how to finally stop betraying your own trading plan.
Listen carefully, because in the next 10 minutes, you're going to confront the one weakness that destroys more traders than bad markets, bad luck, or bad strategies combined. You're going to learn why Jesse Livermore, one of the greatest traders to ever live, built his own rules and then broke them, why you break yours, and what it actually costs you every time you do. You'll learn the mental toll of inconsistency, the psychology behind self-sabotage, and the internal fight every trader must face. Before we go any further, answer this honestly. Comment below, when was the last trade you made because you had to be right? All right, let's dive in. Section 1. Every trader has a set of rules until emotions arrive. Jesse Livermore once said, "A trader must stick to his rules as if they were laws." But here's the irony. He didn't always follow his own. And every time he broke one, it cost him millions. Not in dollars, but in mental damage. Because rules are not for when things are easy. Rules are for when your ego fights you, when fear blinds you, when greed whispers the wrong advice. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Breaking your rules feels good in the moment and expensive in hindsight. You've done it. I've done it. Every trader has done it. You take a trade too early because you're bored. You double a size because you feel it. You exit too soon because a candle spooks you. You re-enter after a loss because you want revenge. You look at your rules later and think, what the hell was I doing? You weren't trading. You were reacting. Section 2. Why Jesse built rules in the first place. Jesse didn't create rules to look disciplined. He created them because he understood his psychology. He knew his strengths, pattern recognition, patience, tape reading. But he also knew his demons, impatience, overconfidence, impulse. His rules weren't strategies. They were emotional guardrails. Rules like, only trade when the market confirms your idea. Pyramid into winners, never losers. Never average down. Only operate when the tape aligns. Sit out when confused. Simple rules, powerful outcomes. But here's the twist. He didn't always follow them. And that's what made him human, and what makes this chapter so important. Section 3. The times he broke his rules and the damage done. Let's revisit one of his most painful moments. During a strong bull move, Jesse spotted a perfect setup. He entered. It worked. He added. It ran. So far, so good. But then, he got greedy. He added too aggressively. He sized too fast. He stopped following his own scaling rule. And when the market pulled back, just a normal, healthy pullback, his oversized position crushed him psychologically. Not financially, he could handle the money. Mentally. You see, losses don't hurt because of the dollar amount. They hurt because they prove you betrayed yourself. George Soros once said he was only wrong when he was inconsistent.
Paul Tudor Jones kept a note above his screens that said, "Losers average losers." Great traders build rules to avoid emotional stupidity, not strategy failure. The times Jesse blew up weren't because the market betrayed him. It was because he betrayed himself. Now ask yourself, and answer honestly in the comments. What's the rule you keep breaking that you know has cost you the most? Section 7. The turning point. When you finally decide to become consistent. There comes a moment in every trader's life, and maybe that moment is right now, where you stop blaming the market, stop blaming volatility, stop blaming timing, and finally confront the real problem, your inconsistency. And once you accept that, everything changes. Because once you decide your rules matter more than your feelings, your entire trading identity transforms. You start saying, "I don't trade when I'm emotional. I follow my entry criteria, no exceptions. I stop the moment I feel off-center. I manage risk before reward." That's when discipline becomes identity, not effort. That's where Jesse tried to live. That's where every elite trader eventually arrives. And that's where you're heading, if you're willing to build yourself into someone who follows their rules even when it hurts. Because sticking to your rules is just the beginning. It's the foundation, but not the transformation. The real evolution happens when you rebuild your inner trader, the part of you that controls emotion, purifies your thinking, and operates like a disciplined machine. That's what comes next. Chapter 9. The Inner Trader. Building your own unshakable discipline. Where we take everything you've learned and turn it into a mindset you can actually live by. Let's keep going. Listen closely, because in the next 10 minutes, you're going to meet the part of yourself that makes consistent, calm, and confident trading possible. We're talking about the inner trader, the one Jesse Livermore honed over decades of wins and losses. The part of you that stays unshaken when the market flips upside down. The part of you that trusts your plan, follows your rules, and executes with precision, even when your emotions scream otherwise. Before we go further, take a moment and answer this honestly. Comment below, when was the last trade you made because you had to be right, not because the market told you to? If you're smart, you shouldn't be here. Yet you are. Let's fix that. By the end of this chapter, you'll understand the emotional triggers that derail traders, and you'll start shaping the mental discipline that separates casual players from true operators. Section 1. What is the inner trader? Your inner trader is not a strategy. It's not an indicator. It's not a checklist you tick off blindly. Your inner trader is a mindset, a cultivated presence, a calm, observant, decisive version of you that executes when others panic. Jesse Livermore described it like this: the big money is not in the buying and selling, but in the waiting, observing, and acting with clarity when opportunity arises. He didn't just train his hands or his eyes. He trained his emotions. Think about that. Every time you feel fear, greed, or impatience, your inner trader is either awake or asleep. And if it's asleep, your trades are not strategic, they're reactive. Section 2. Emotional purification. Cleaning the mind. Jesse's biggest advantage wasn't knowing the tape better than anyone else. It was his ability to purge emotional noise before he traded. Imagine sitting at your desk with no frustration, no doubt, no leftover anger from yesterday's losses. Pure focus. Every thought aligned with the market, not with your ego. He called it emotional purification, the process of clearing the mind so trading decisions are made based on observation, not reaction. Modern traders do this through journaling, meditation, and mental rehearsal. Ray Dalio keeps a pain plus reflection equals progress journal. Mark Minervini analyzes every trade emotionally, not just numerically. Ask yourself, what's in your head when you press buy or sell? Fear, greed, ego, or clarity? Drop a thought below. Awareness is the first step to mastery. Section 3. Self-control, the foundation of discipline. Discipline isn't just following a checklist. It's self-control under pressure. Jesse knew exactly when to sit, exactly when to scale, exactly when to exit. Not because he was lucky, because he had control over his impulses. Think of your trades like a high-stakes poker game. Every move counts. Every reaction is expensive. And the player who wins consistently isn't the one with the best hand. It's the one who controls their impulses when the stakes are high. Every time you overtrade, revenge trade, or break your own rules, you give away that control. And every time you resist the urge, you strengthen it. Ask yourself, which impulse do you struggle with the most? And what would happen if you resisted it just once today? Section 4. Strategic clarity. Think like Jesse. Clarity comes from observation, experience, and reflection. Jesse didn't just trade charts, he traded behavior. He read patterns, tape, and market psychology, then applied rules with surgical precision. Your inner trader achieves clarity by asking the right questions before every trade. Is this aligned with my plan? Does it fit my risk tolerance? Am I trading to react or trading to act? Do I trust the setup or just my desire to win? Clarity transforms hesitation into action, chaos into opportunity, and doubt into confidence. Section 5. Building unshakable discipline. Daily habits. Your inner trader isn't built overnight. It's forged in daily habits. Jesse's routine included reviewing charts before the market opens, observing price behavior without trading, journaling emotional reactions after every session, practicing patience until setups confirmed themselves, and rebuilding focus after losses instead of chasing them. Every elite trader has a ritual that reinforces discipline. Consistency in practice creates resilience in execution. Your challenge? Start small. Pick one ritual that keeps your mind calm and your rules front and center. Do it every day. No excuses. Section 6. The transformation. Becoming an elite trader. Once emotional noise is purged, self-control is strengthened, and strategic clarity is established, you become the inner trader. You're no longer reactive. You're proactive. You don't chase losses. You don't overtrade. You don't second-guess your setups. Instead, you operate like a machine, calm, focused, and disciplined, but still human enough to adapt, observe, and learn. Jesse said it best. Big money is made in the waiting. Big mistakes are made in impatience. Your inner trader is patient, focused, aligned, unshakable. And now with your inner trader awake, we approach the final step, becoming the calm, focused trader you've been training for. Chapter 10. Your call to action. Become the calm, focused trader you seek. This is where everything we've covered comes alive. Emotional control, daily routines, self-growth, and committing to mastery. You'll leave this journey with more than knowledge. You'll leave with a plan to become the trader you've always wanted to be.
Listen carefully, because this is where it all comes together. In the next 10 minutes, you're going to step beyond knowledge, beyond theory,
and into action. You'll learn how to take control of your emotions, implement a daily trading psychology routine, and grow into the disciplined, patient, unshakable trader you've been training to become. Before we dive in, ask yourself. Comment below. When was the last time you felt truly calm during a trade, and why didn't it happen more often? If you're smart, you shouldn't be here, yet you are. Let's fix that. Section 1. Control your emotions, control your trades. Everything we've covered, from Livermore's first lessons to building your inner trader, comes down to this. Your mind is your most powerful trading tool. When fear strikes, your profits shrink. When greed strikes, your risk balloons. When impatience strikes, your opportunities vanish. Every trade is a mental battle. The market isn't trying to trick you. You're tricking yourself if you react emotionally. Your first action today, notice the emotional triggers that make you break rules. Name them. Observe them. Start neutralizing them. Big traders like Paul Tudor Jones meditate before market opens. Ray Dalio journals to purge bias. Even Jesse Livermore practiced mental resets before committing capital. Your turn. Find the ritual that keeps your mind calm, clear, and ready for precision. Section 2. Build a daily psychology routine. Consistency isn't just about charts or strategies. It's about your daily mental hygiene. A simple routine could look like this. Morning reflection. Review yesterday's trades. Focus on what you controlled, not what you didn't. Mindful observation. Watch the tape or charts without acting. Notice patterns and rehearse responses. Emotional reset. Breathe, meditate, or journal to clear noise. Evening review. Identify emotional mistakes and reinforce lessons. This routine builds what Jesse called mental armor. It trains your brain to react with discipline, not impulse. It transforms reactive traders into operators who control their outcomes. Section 3. Commit to discipline and patience. Discipline and patience aren't optional. They're the currency of success. Every time you stick to your rules, scale properly, wait for confirmation, or resist revenge trading, you deposit into your trading account of composure. Every time you break them, you withdraw from it, and your emotional balance suffers. Ask yourself, which withdrawal cost you the most recently, and what will your next deposit look like? The goal is simple. Make discipline habitual so patience becomes effortless. Jesse's big gains weren't magic. They were repeated, disciplined actions stacked over time. Section 4. Grow your trading mindset. Knowledge alone does nothing. Habits alone do nothing. Your mindset determines how you integrate everything. To grow as a trader, embrace losses as lessons, not failures. Detach from outcomes, focus on execution. Observe markets with curiosity, not ego. Protect your mental clarity like it's your biggest asset. Your growth comes when you combine what you know with what you can execute consistently. That's the true power of disciplined trading psychology. Section 5. Become the trader you seek. It's time to take everything you've learned, emotional mastery, controlled aggression, rule following, inner discipline, and live it daily. Imagine opening the market tomorrow, calm, focused, patient, and decisive. Imagine entering trades without hesitation. Imagine exiting trades without regret. Imagine your mind operating like Jesse Livermore's, strategic, observant, and unshakable. That's not fantasy. That's a choice. Your choice. Section 6. Your action plan. Here's your call to action. Commit to your rules. Write them down. Follow them religiously. Practice daily mental rituals. Meditate, journal, observe. Track emotional triggers. Stop reactive trades before they happen. Reflect every session. Ask, did I act like my inner trader today? Subscribe and learn.
Keep feeding your mind with resources like psych-rich audiobooks to strengthen your mindset daily. Take ownership of your growth. Your consistency is more important than any single trade. Your mindset is more valuable than any strategy. Ending. Your transformation starts now. The market won't wait. Opportunity won't wait. But your future self will thank you if you start today. Becoming calm, focused, and disciplined doesn't happen overnight. It happens one deliberate, controlled, and thoughtful action at a time. Remember Jesse Livermore. The big money comes from preparation, observation, and disciplined execution. You've learned the psychology. Now, live it. Comment below. Which habit will you start today to become the trader you've always wanted to be? Your journey isn't over. It's just beginning. Welcome to the life of the calm, focused, unshakable trader. You are ready, and now you act.